People look at me, they say, Thomas, why do you do these vile things, these horrible things? Live your life. Why would you ever want to combine hot sauce and apple cider vinegar? Why would you ever want to do a shot of that in the morning? And I say, because it makes me feel alive. So yes, I'm living my life. Seriously, this is a pretty vile concoction. Like, it's powerful. It actually doesn't taste bad, but when you add cayenne pepper to apple cider vinegar in the morning, of course you're not doing it as a shot, you add it in some water, but people always say, why do you recommend cayenne pepper alongside apple cider vinegar? Or why do you say a shot of hot sauce along with apple cider vinegar? It just sounds like you're making this stuff up. You know, to a certain degree, everything kind of starts out as making something up, right? You kind of test things out, but when you look at the research, it's pretty interesting. The combination of apple cider vinegar and cayenne is very powerful. Before we get started, if you want to save 25% off your entire grocery order through Thrive Market, I did put a link down below. So this is a special link for people that watch my channel. So 25% off your entire grocery order through Thrive Market when you use that link, plus a free gift along with it. So it allows you to go onto Thrive Market, order all your groceries, search by different diet type, different groceries by diet type, and then it just gets delivered to your doorstep in a couple of days. No more going to the grocery store, save a bunch of time. Honestly, ends up being much more cost effective in my opinion. That link is down below to save 25% off your first order and get that free gift. So what happens is apple cider vinegar has what is called acetic acid in it. So acetic acid increases AMPK in liver and fat cells. AMPK is the energy sensor. So to make it very, very simple, when we consume apple cider vinegar, it is basically telling the body that we are in a slight deficit, because AMPK, that's what that job is to basically tell the body, oh, we need to start burning fuel that is stored because there's not enough energy on hand. And the reason that it does this is because when acetate from ACV enters into a cell, it converts into acetyl coenzyme A. This complicated jargon basically means that it costs energy to do this conversion. So this whole conversion that happens in a cell costs us energy. And when it costs us energy, it forces the body to get a little bit better at fatty acid oxidation, and it forces the body to get a little bit better at using its own stored fuels. In a lot of cases, that means burning fats. But additionally, it upregulates the gene expression of something called PPAR alpha. So at a genetic level, it helps the cells be a little bit better at using fats as a fuel source. So that's one of the many reasons I like apple cider vinegar, but don't just take my word for it. There was a study that was published in the journal Agriculture and Food that demonstrated that acetic acid upregulates fat oxidation genes. Okay, so it upregulates PPAR alpha. Okay, so it upregulates these genes that, once again, help us use that fat. So that study kind of looked at it mechanistically. They also found there was an increase in uncoupling proteins. Uncoupling proteins are the proteins that are associated with what is called brown adipose tissue. That's the fat that just emits heat, so allows us to burn calories as heat, kind of like what cold therapy would do, right? They also found there was an increase in carnitine palmitoyltransferase 1. This is a transport molecule that carries fats across the mitochondrial membrane to be used as fuel. So more of that means we're able to shuttle more fat in. Okay, what about the hot sauce? What about the capsaicin here? Well, there was a study that was published in Bioscience Reports that found that capsaicin triggers the activation of brown adipose tissue in a similar way that cold therapy would. So just like if you were doing an ice plunge or you were doing regular cold therapy, it influences more brown adipose tissue. And this alone can affect your energy expenditure, because when you have more brown adipose tissue, you have more tissue that is literally just burning calories as heat, not burning it for movement, but burning it just to dissipate as heat. Then there was a study that was published in the journal Biomed Optics that took a look at a capsinoid group, a group of people that were given a capsinoid supplement, and a group of people that were given a placebo for 8 weeks. Okay, the capsinoid group at the end of the study had a 46.4% increase in brown adipose tissue density. That's nuts. That's a huge increase in 8 weeks. And then in the following 8 weeks, after a follow-up without taking in the capsinoids, they had a 12% reduction in their brown adipose tissue. So what this implies is maybe having the cayenne pepper with the apple cider vinegar every day in the morning isn't necessarily a bad thing. Maybe it does require consistency. Maybe you can't just take it, get the desired effect, and then never do it again. Now, the appetite thing is pretty interesting too. ACV seems to have some pretty interesting effects on appetite. There's a study that was published in the journal Nature that took a look at this. They found that acetate activates what is called acetyl coenzyme A carboxylase. Now, this downstream has an effect on specific neuropeptides, like peptide YY, that can actually affect our appetite and may even have an effect on reducing levels of ghrelin. So it can affect appetite in a couple of different ways. And the reason that this mechanistically might be happening, the researchers hypothesize that the acetate can ferment, and when the acetate ferments, it increases what are called hypothalamic acetate levels, so levels of acetate within the brain. This can influence a more GABA state. What is all this gobbledygook? GABA is a more relaxed mode that the brain can be in. And when the brain is in this more GABA-influenced state and it's relaxed, we're now starting to see that that may influence our appetite. So if we're more tilted towards the GABA scale, we may have less appetite. It's really interesting stuff, and we're just scratching the surface of it, but very intriguing. But now, how does hot sauce come into play with this? Well, hot sauce or capsaicin or cayenne pepper might play a role with your appetite because it acts upon what is called the TRPV1 receptor, which is along the vagus nerve. And when you hit that, when it gets triggered, when it's activated, that alone affects your appetite. This has an effect on oxytocin, which has an appetite suppression effect, and it has an effect on reducing levels of ghrelin, which obviously, that's the hunger hormone, is going to have an effect on hunger. So I know it's crazy, I know it sounds vile, and I'm not saying that everyone has to do it, and I'm not saying this is the magic trick. I'm not promoting that at all. I'm just saying if you're doing the apple cider vinegar, people always say, why do I have to add the cayenne? The cayenne makes it so tough. Just dilute it more and get it in. Or be a total monster, put it in a little thimble and put a little dash of Louisiana hot sauce along with your apple cider vinegar. Boom, call it a day and wake up screaming. I'll see you tomorrow.